your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what good you say? I dabbled in stand-up or something. I have no disrespect for you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr Podcast. You can listen to this show on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, Twitter, Facebook, even Twitch. Is that still a thing for now? Before I bring in our fabulous guest, I have a couple of stand-up shows to promote. If you're sitting there thinking, man, I would really love to see you, Chrissie, so pregnant doing stand-up, you're in luck. You can come out this Saturday, February 24th. I'll be headlining Tiff's Ale House in Morris Plains, New Jersey. 8:30 show. My dear friend Keanu Thompson will be featuring, and Andrew Harms, who you may have seen on my Compound Media show. The Wet Spot will be there as well. And then next month, Friday, March 22nd, I'll be headlining in Grantville, Pennsylvania at the Laughingstock Comedy Club. I will do my best not to break my water over the front row. But tickets just went on sale for this show. That's Friday, March 22nd in Pennsylvania. And this Saturday in Morris Plains, New Jersey. Go to my website, ChrissieMayr.com. for tickets. And who knows what else I'll be able to do before the little bean arrives. He's already head down. I don't know what that means. He's getting into launching position. I can't believe it. It's so wild. Every day I wake up, I go, what? I'm pregnant. How did this happen? It's a bit of a trip. Yes, that's all for the announcements. And as always, of course, like and subscribe to this show. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 100K so I can get a little plaque and point to it every time I feel sad about myself. Okay, without further ado, I'm so thrilled and honored that this gal is giving me a little bit of her time tonight to talk about a few things. She's the founder and president of Against Groomers. I bumped into her briefly in December at Turning Point USA, but it's so great to have her on this evening. Welcome to the show, Jaimee Michell. Hello.
Hi, Chrissie. Thank you so much for having me. We've been trying to figure this out. I was looking back in our Twitter DMs or our X DMs since March of last year. So I'm glad it's almost been a year. Yeah.
Wow.
So
see, guys, never give up on your dreams. Never always stay persistent. I feel like a dude trying to date. I'm just like, I'll wear her down.
You are super pregnant though, huh? When is the bean coming? When's he making his debut?
April 19th. Although, like, it looks like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, sorry for everybody who didn't come for this, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's there. It's very there.
I can see it.
I feel like I look like he could come out any second.
Right.
But they seem pretty intent on April 19th. So
did you pick a name yet?
We're honing in. Yeah, we're pretty sure. We're like 90% sure. But of course we're not going to say it yet because
no.
Someone will steal the Twitter account and post dick pics probably.
Right.
So.
No, that's super exciting. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It is frightening and scary, but it's
sure.
very exciting. I'm trying to before we went live, Jaimee, you were like, I need to do something other than taupe in the background. You are giving a little bit of like DMV vibes, like you're about to take your passport photo.
Yeah. Actually, I am. Right after this, I'm just going to open I have this program where I can just take my passport photo. No, but I was telling Chrissie, I was telling her, before we started, that I actually just ordered this really nice backdrop with the Gays Against Groomers logo, like a step and repeat. And I ordered the wrong one, and it's like super glossy. And so when I have a light shining on it, which I have to do when I'm, doing anything on camera being filmed, it has a huge glare. So it's just not it. I have to retry this again.
It's so tricky. Yeah, you can't have anything shiny in the background. Right. You have to like all these different lights, like makeup. It's just, you guys don't even know how the sausage is made here on YouTube.
I'm feeling really inspired though by your setup. Like it's very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I had I think I can send you where everything is from, and it doesn't take much. You just need a couple little lights and a pumpkin apparently that's lasted from October.
I was going to point that out. Is that actually a real pumpkin?
Yes, this is how I told a couple people I was pregnant. Yeah, oh my God, I can't believe it's not rotting. This is insane. This has lasted since October.
It doesn't even look like it's begun to rot. Like it
looks.
It's real.
It has not even. I don't want to test pulling the stem off, but this has not even begun. This is incredible. Wow,
that's kind of crazy. That's one of those Bill Gates pumpkins.
Yeah. I don't trust it. I'm not eating it.
Yeah.
So this is so exciting. Yeah, I bumped into you a little bit at Turning Point USA, America Fest back in Phoenix in December. That was the first time I had ever gone to one of those events. It was overwhelming. I had a little booth because I was like, I'm gonna just stream. I can't just like walk around. I need to be doing something. And I'm sure you've been to that event a few times. Like you guys have been on their radar a while, and I'm sure you were constantly being pulled and asked for interviews. And what was that experience like for you guys there? How many from the organization came out?
Yeah, I mean, AmFest in general is a very intense experience. It's just like a lot for a few days straight. But this year we didn't have a booth. The year before was our first year going because it was like, well, many people don't know Gays Against Groomers is only about a year and a half old, a little over a year and a half old. So we went in 2022, we had a booth like in the vendor hall. I want to say it's called Sponsor Hall or whatever. So that was really exciting for us. We had a team of like 10 people there working the booth and just getting to know people and spreading our message because we were really new at that point. But it was amazing because so that was in December and I launched Gays Against Groomers in June of 2022. And in that short time, so many people knew about us. Like we had a really small booth because we were very small. We were very new. The booths there are very expensive in the vendor hall. I'm not sure about Media Row where you were, but they're very expensive. And so we got the smallest one and it was like the most packed booth in the whole room, which was
wow.
And we were
you didn't get to do it on Media Row because I think for Media Row, what did I end up spending? It might have been like $1,000, but I split it.
Oh, that's nice.
Another podcast, and I'm like, all right, well, it's it's a business expense.
No, it's like it's a lot more than that for the smallest one in the vendor hall, but it was worth it, to get our names out there and just meet people and get kind of a temperature check for how people like if they knew what was going on, if they didn't. But yeah, and then this year we didn't have a booth. We just went, another like about 10 of us again went and we're just walking around and networking and stuff and doing interviews and stuff like that. So it was a good time. Yeah.
How do you guys end up like recruiting folks for the organization? How is it more? I mean, I know it's a nonprofit. You guys are a 501c4.
Yes, we are a C4.
How is that? I only thought there were 501c3s. I've never.
Yeah.
C4.
So C3s, you can't be involved politically, really. Like, so since we're on the topic of Turning Point is actually a C3, which always surprises me because they feel very like partisan, but you're not supposed to be partisan, but technically, but that's why they have their Turning Point Action, which is a 501c4. So the C4 can be involved, like you can lobby, and you can endorse candidates and campaign and stuff. So we wanted to be able to be involved politically because, the most important part of this fight really is the legislative battles. We're really proud. The thing I'm most proud of that Gays Against Groomers has been able to do is in that short time, less than 2 years, we've had a hand in 20 states banning I hate the term gender affirming care, right? But it's child sterilization and mutilation. But we've had a hand in getting that banned in 20 states so far. So, and now we just started endorsing candidates. Like, I really believe that this is the most impactful way to elect the right people and pass the right laws. So yeah, we're a C4. We may do a C3 at some point for other reasons, but right now it's just been a C4 and it's working out fine.
It just sounds like an organizational bra size to me. I'm like, oh, it's a 501(36) double D, but we'll
exactly. Yeah, it's comparable.
What legislation are you guys sort of keeping an eye on at the moment? What is, anything coming down the pipe there?
Oh God. Well, there's a lot every day. We actually just launched a legislative department within Gays Against Groomers because there's so many bills. It's like an election year, everything is back in session. So there's a lot to keep track of. And so we have a whole team now within the organization dedicated to that, to tracking them and seeing where we need to go testify and stuff. We just had our Georgia chapter. So for those that don't know, Gays Against Groomers has chapters. Right now we have 24 across the United States. We do state chapters, unlike Moms for Liberty that does by county. So they have many, many more, but they do counties. We just do states. But our Georgia chapter recently I think it was just last week, went to go testify on SB 88, which is essentially like a parental bill of rights type act in Georgia that would prevent teachers from, hiding information from the parents about their child's perceived gender identity if they want to be called by, a different name or use different pronouns. So we went and testified in favor of that bill, which was great. And it made a lot of headway. So we have a lot of confidence that one is going to get through. Really hoping, but you never know. You just really never know. The wheels turn so slowly and things get caught up and there's setbacks all the time. But yeah, so that's one. And then, there's one that just passed, the most recent state that actually banned gender affirming care. I'm using my air quotes for those listening just to audio. Is Ohio. They became the latest state to outlaw it completely, which is great. And we had a hand in that as well. So, it's like there's bad things that pop up all the time, but there's also good bills that actually get through. And, just to see more people waking up to what's actually happening, what's actually being done, compared to even a year ago, like we are so much further ahead in just the awareness of the issue. Which, I think is probably the biggest struggle in this fight to end the war on children is just awareness. So many people don't even know this is happening. And so many people have heard the term gender affirming care, perhaps, but they don't know that actually entails chemical castration and chopping healthy body parts off of children,
Of course, it's like you would first hear, Black Lives Matter and say that sounds like a good idea. Who would disagree with that?
I use that comparison all the time. It's like the other side, they're very, very skillful with their language, with the words that they choose. And I always say gender affirming care, it's the exact same thing they did with Black Lives Matter. Like, how can you come out against Black Lives Mattering? Like, how could you be against that? So of course, nobody wants to be against, care for children. Like, what are you, a monster? And so people, they just hear that and they don't dig deeper and they don't understand that actually it's horrific abuse So
Yeah, you can't affirm the wants of a minor because they don't know what they want yet. You're affirming the wants of big pharma. You're affirming the wants of these legislators, and I imagine that that's probably the most intimidating part of this is being sort of like politically and legally literate, and just understanding like the language used in this legislation and some of these bills that are trying to be passed. Like for me, that would seem like the most intimidating part of the fight is just kind of trying to break all of that down and understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really it can be complicated. You know, there is a whole set of jargon and lingo that they sneak into bills that isn't like common everyday terminology for people, you know, so just reading it at first glance. But that's why I'm really happy that we have established an actual legislative department within the organization, because we have like an expert leading that department and people that are contributing that have experience working in legislature. And so, yeah, I mean, having a solid understanding is the first step, you know, to be able to move forward one way or another with it, whether you want to come out against it or whether you want to support it. So, yeah.
When you were starting this organization, did you set out for it to be like political, or how did it come to be this way? I guess. I mean, and also like what was the moment where that really inspired you to actually, you know, found the organization?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Gays Against Groomers is a political organization. I have been saying that since the first day we launched. It's sad because this issue has been made into a political issue, but I truly don't believe it should be, or is. I actually believe it's the most uniting cause probably, in this country. You know, it's just about protecting children. So, you know, sadly, we're painted as far right, anti-LGBTQ extremists, which is very interesting because we're all gay and we have some trans people in our organization too. But that just, you know, that's funny. That just goes to show me that that's literally the only attack they have. Like they cannot win an argument based on any facts or based on any logic, or, you know, all they have, their only tool is to try and silence you and intimidate you into silence. And so I think we threw a really big wrench into their whole system. I don't think they were expecting people from inside the community to speak out. And they don't really know what to do with us. And, you know, we've been banned from 14 platforms now and services.
Ooh, because I heard about you were banned from Venmo and PayPal, the organization, and you personally.
Yes, I'm still banned, as is Gays Against Groomers. It's crazy. But I got off your topic a little bit. You asked, oh, and you also asked the moment that like the light bulb went off in my head that I had to do this. Yeah, so I remember specifically, it was the summer of 2022. And, you know, I, like everybody else that uses social media, was seeing the onslaught of videos, disgusting, inappropriate videos of the drag queen story hours and the drag shows with kids, and seeing the material in schools and reading about all these children that are having these procedures and drugs, you know, given to them. But the one defining moment, like I had been against it, as was every other gay person I personally knew in my life, and trans people. But we didn't have a unified kind of voice we were all kind of individually speaking out against it, but there was no unified voice for us. But you probably remember the video. It was in Dallas at this nightclub, and it was a drag show with these little young children strutting with the pink neon sign behind it that said it's not going to lick itself.
Oh yeah. My gosh. Yes, that was such a unfortunately cultural moment. And
that was the night, like literally that night I saw that video and I made the accounts. The name popped in my head and I'm like, that's it. I'm doing this. Like, we have to speak out against it. You know, and I think we've grown so quickly. Like, I've kind of been trying to play catch up ever since I launched the organization. I was not expecting that. I thought maybe in you know, 6 months to a year, maybe some blogger would write about us. Maybe we'd have 5,000 followers on social media. But, you know, basically overnight, we grew to like hundreds of thousands of followers. And 3 months after I launched the organization, I was on Tucker Carlson. So
holy cow! I didn't realize it was that quickly.
It was that quick. And I remember the day I started it, that was back when Tucker was still on Fox. But I remember the day I started, I was like, my goal is to be on Tucker. We're going to get on Tucker with this. We're going to get the word out there. And then 3 months later, he was actually my first show ever. And it was live. Like, it was absolutely crazy. I blacked out. I still don't really know what I said. But that just like, that just goes to show, I think, how necessary our voices are from inside the community. Because, straight people speak out against it till they're blue in the face, and they're instantly written off as, homophobic, transphobic, all the phobic, bigots, hateful, just horrible people. And you aren't at all. These people are not. They just care about children's safety and well-being, as should everybody. But, when they sling those labels at us, it doesn't really stick quite as well. But they do try, but it's so ridiculous.
What do you remember from being on Tucker? What surprised you? Was there anything that was more difficult or challenging than you expected? And then was there anything that like surprised you, or I guess, or that felt easier than you expected?
Like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The first time I was on Tucker, I blacked out. Like, I don't remember anything. I remember it being fast. Like, wow. I think it was like 3 minutes total, but I felt like it was like 40 seconds and then it was over. And I was like, what just happened? But then I was on another 3 times after that. And it didn't really get easier as I was on more. But, Tucker, I had the opportunity to actually meet him at AmFest in 2022. Which was a few months after I had been on his show for the first time. And I don't know if you've met Tucker, but he is genuinely like the nicest guy. I was very surprised by just how normal he is. Like, we spent like 15 minutes just talking about our dogs backstage at AmFest. And
that's the best.
Yeah, the best. He's like such a good guy.
I remember, I've never met Tucker Carlson, but I remember like the first podcast I did with Roger Stone. I was like very intimidated. I'm like, oh, he's like one of the biggest guests I've ever had. We had similarly like a 10-15 minute conversation just about like best places to get pizza in New York City and what kind of pizza we liked. And it was like the most calming thing. I was like, oh, right. Like, he's just a regular person. Like, we're all just people with dogs and pizza.
You forget. I mean, you forget, but they really are. We're just all people, but yeah, that was definitely like a moment for me. That was a moment.
I remember because I came up in comedy. I was like, I talk about this all the time. And like, for those of you who've heard this story a million times, I'm sorry. But like, I graduated college, was very Democrat, very left leaning, feminist, the whole thing. And then I started stand-up comedy after college, after like 5 years of improv. And the first like regular monthly show I had was at the Stonewall Inn. And I ran for 6 years. I was constantly, and this was like, that show started in like 2012. And again, that was still like the 2010s. And there would constantly be drag shows before they were trying to, like before it was in vogue to have drag shows for kids. And it was fun. And I was constantly scouting like up and coming LGBT stand-up talent. And then I'd have veterans coming in, more household names from the Comedy Cellar. And it was just a blast. And I remember when I went from doing that show every month to doing a weekly show on Compound Media, which is seen as like super right wing, and it's a freedom of speech network. Like the person who I was, my sense of humor didn't change, but I noticed a big change in who like stopped talking to me, who stopped being friendly with me. And I went from being like having all these friends to being like, the name calling started happening. And then I was became an out Trump voter. And then like, it happened in kind of phases, but it just was like, it's just amazing how quickly people will put you in a box and kind of like tell you how you feel based on where you work or what you do.
Yeah, I actually lost my best friend of 30 years because I supported Trump back a few years ago.
30 years? Oh my God.
My very best friend in my whole life. We were best friends since I was 4. I may be aging myself here a little bit. But she stopped being my friend because of my politics. And, I never spoke about, she's very liberal. I knew that. Like a lot of my friends in my personal life growing up, like this, were always more left leaning. But, because of that, I respected her. Like I never wanted to talk about politics when we hung out, but she just, I don't know if your followers may be familiar, but before I started Gays Against Groomers, I had a big account called the Gay Who Strayed. Primarily was more on Instagram. I started that in 2017 and it grew really big. And so she knew about that and was seeing the stuff I was posting. And yeah, she ended our friendship. She was like, I just can't have you in my life. And it literally was like a breakup to me. Like it was really, really rough. But
Wow.
it's people are crazy. I don't understand how people can let that affect your relationship with somebody so much.
I mean, look at Trump, COVID. There were many waves of
sure.
and that they're very much glamorized by the media. Like, yeah, these are legitimate reasons for cutting people out of your life, and the media supported it and encouraged it. And I think even if your friend thinks like, man, I was wrong for doing that, like, I think a lot of people would not apologize because there was so much validation around feeling that way. It would take a very big person to be like, oh yeah, I was kind of hoodwinked by the mainstream media.
We have been back in touch for a little over a year. Like we reconciled. Actually, my mom passed away January of 2023. And at that point, she was like, wow, I really shouldn't have done that. I'm really sorry. Like I wasn't in your life and all this stuff. And so we reconnected and, our relationship isn't anything like what it was, but, we're back in each other's lives. But it's just crazy that like, you experienced it too, just losing serious relationships over politics.
And just out the gate, not even with a DM or a message or a phone call or hey, like I don't know, I've heard bad things about compound media, maybe you can explain. None of that, just an instant write-off.
Right.
Oh, 6 instant write-off. Oh, you're not getting jabbed, instant write-off. Oh, you're voting for Trump. Oh, sorry.
Crazy.
There was a lot of that. And I mean, then you find better other friends, but it definitely stings. Oh, thank you, Leo Fisher, for the super chat. Controlling media and propaganda is what commies do. Notice a waffle commercial where 4-year-old not wearing pants says, "'Cause I'm a dinosaur" is not seen or found on YouTube because it made point of Jaimee and friends. Oh my God. I think you're missing maybe a few words here, Leo.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for the super chat.
Do we understand what he's getting at here? Okay.
I mean, I agree with the first sentence. Controlling media and propaganda is what commies do. Yep, but he lost me after that. But yeah.
Okay, Leo, maybe just send another regular chat, and we'll try to piece together what you were talking about here. and you guys have grown so much in such a short time.
Yeah.
You started June of 2022. With a kind of a focus on really the children. You guys are meeting with school boards. You're staying on top of bills and legislation that are trying to be pitched. Do you feel like, and I'm going to tie this into, I feel, because Gina Carano is someone who was very kind of recently publicly very canceled for speaking out about a lot of issues that are not even like hot takes at this point. Just, medical freedom of speech. But she kind of was shackled by the Disney higher ups into, what was she, a couple of tweets, but one of them that she got into hot water for was like comparing, like what the treatment of the unvaccinated to like Jews in the Holocaust or something like that. And I've noticed there's been a steady outcry of Gina Carano haters, especially like they'll go to these conventions and they'll say like, I don't, as an LGBTQ person, I don't feel safe at this convention. No one shall be there. And most recently, they tried to they attempted to get her banned from this Toronto Comic-Con, and sure enough, there were a few LGBT folks who came out to protest Gina Carano being at the Vancouver, I guess the Vancouver Comic-Con or the Vancouver MegaCon. My friend Jay here, who works with Gina, and I just this video was just brought to my attention. So let's see what kind of a showing her haters.
So
had.
I'm in Vancouver, the FanExpo with Gina Carano, and if you didn't know, there were signs posted. Well, one sign posted.
Oh my God! Look at this sign: FanExpo protest Monday, February 19th, in front of the Vancouver Convention Center. 12 to 3.
Wear your cosplay.
You have to do this for 3 hours. Did you know FanExpo has invited notoriously transphobic and anti-Semitic? So it's everything. Any label they can slap on her, they will. Actress Gina Carano, her autographs will cost $120 each. Do not be silent. Wear your cosplay. Make signs. Bring pride flags. Make noise.
There's going to be a protest.
People are so embarrassing.
Happening now. So I'm going to walk out and go see the protesters and see what.
Not only did they not cancel Gina from this convention, they gave her an extra day because that's how popular she is.
I bet.
Heading out, and let's see if we can see it, find it. I'm curious to see what's going on. I'm out here where it's supposed to be, and I got nothing. I got nothing.
You'll speed this up a little.
See.
This is it? No.
Just people taking pictures here at the front. And
like nobody.
I think I found it, actually. I found it. It's actually happening on the other side of the building. So here we go.
So far away. Where's the actual...
There it is.
Oh, this is the outcry.
Yeah. Good job, guys.
Cool.
Keep fandom safe. See, this person scares me more than Gina Carano wearing headphones with cat ears and a skull mask and a pride flag. This person scares me more than an actress.
Oh my goodness.
This other sign says keep bigots out of our safe space.
I saw, yeah. Oh, and look at that winner right next to Zem there. My goodness.
Is four people. And is this person just holding up an envelope? Like, what kind of a sign is this? This person don't bother showing up if you don't have your oak tag and your Sharpies. Like,
yeah, just put some effort in.
That very low effort.
There it is. Well, that's it. 4 people. And, they didn't really want to talk to anyone. They just wanted people to read their signs. Didn't really say anything about Gina. It just said keep FanExpo a safe space.
Well,
and they cheered for all the cosplayers that walked by.
Even directly.
So, this is your on the street reporter coming to you from Vancouver.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Jay, for that update. Do you feel that just in your time since the organization has started that you felt like you've made a difference?
Oh, yeah, 100% actually, which is amazing because I wasn't really expecting that. I didn't know what we could do, I didn't know what Gays Against Groomers would become. I knew I wanted it to be more than just like a social media account. When I first launched it, everybody was like, oh, it's like the libs of TikTok you get off Wish.
What? Really? They called you like libs of TikTok?
Yeah. They used to say that it was, trying to be like libs of TikTok. And that was genuinely, I never had that in mind. That wasn't it. I knew from day one, it was a group of us. Like it was a group of us that were making content. It started out just social media, but I knew I wanted to make it more than that. And so I very quickly, filed.
Who's in the original group?
Oh gosh. Mike Harlow, he's a good friend of yours, right? Yeah,
I love Mike.
He was one of the OGs. I basically just banded together a bunch of the gay friends I made through my time being the gay who strayed, and was like, guys, I have this idea. you want to join and make some videos and see what we can do, like, we have to push back against this.
Because it does seem ideologically similar to ish, like Walk Away.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. It's just, well, we actually, our editor-in-chief, like, people think that we're all right-wing, but we actually have people from all over the political spectrum in our group. Our editor-in-chief actually stumped for AOC. He doesn't support her anymore.
What does stumping mean?
Like, getting out the vote and campaining for her.
Okay.
Like, he lives in New York City, so yeah.
I was like stumping. I'm like, is there a new sex move I don't know about?
It's a new TikTok dance.
It's a position, yeah.
No, but we're a very diverse group of people, mentally, physically, like, it's just, we're all over the place, but we have the one common belief and mission that we want to end this nightmare happening to kids. And we also want to stop it. I've always said our mission is twofold. It's first and foremost to protect kids and stop this insanity. But also to kind of like help ourselves too, because the backlash against our community, against all of us, is growing by just association. And the truth is, the majority of people, of gay people, and I truly believe even trans people, like, do not want this happening. It's just the approved narrative, and all you see, like the clips that go viral. You're not going to see me at home with my fiance watching Netflix. Like, that doesn't make the news, but that's really what, the majority of us are just living our lives like every other American. And that's all we want. We don't want to push anything on anyone. But, the narrative out there is that, like, even when I think of like pride right now, I just think of kids, like the push on kids. And that's so horrible because it's really hurting all of us. We just achieved our hard fought equality less than 10 years ago. It was 2015 where it became, legal nationally. And, I'll never forgive these radicals, these activists, for basically proving the ultra right, that warned of the slippery slope.
Yeah.
The stereotype, oh, what's next? Like, with the slippery slope, you can't legalize marriage. What comes next? Pedophilia. And it's like, now we're basically, I pray, at the bottom of the slope. I don't know how much further down it can get, but and the majority of us, and I want to specify, I want to make it really clear to people, and I always say this, is that it isn't the people pushing this and crafting this agenda and narrative and pushing it. They aren't gay or trans, like, the heads of these multinational corporations, or the heads of the medical industry and the Board of Education, and all these people at the top that are in this concerted effort to push this stuff on kids. They're not part of the community. They're using us as a shield to evade criticism, to be able to do it. And because they're able to, just say, oh, you're a hateful bigot, you're transphobe, you're a homophobe, like, if you push back against it. And so, we're kind of being used as scapegoats, and we take great issue with that. So yeah, this is a really personal fight for us. And we also, I always say, and I think about it every day, like, we pretty much all of us in Gays Against Groomers see ourselves in these kids. Like, the majority of these kids, these gender non-conforming kids, would otherwise just grow up to be gay. Like, if I grew up in this era, I would 100% believe that I was supposed to be a boy. And if my parents bought into this insanity and, like, were part of swept up into this ideological cult, they would have medically transitioned me. I would have asked them to, and they would have done it. But I have never wanted to be a boy a day in my life, or a man. It's like, it's so scary that these kids now, like, we just really see ourselves in them. So
I think about it too, because I started gymnastics at 9 and springboard diving at 11. And I think about, like, how important sports was to my upbringing, and like how it shaped me gave me such a discipline, and really set me up for like a lifetime of not quitting easily on things. And if I was that age now, where like basically like biological men are allowed to compete next to girls, like I would have been out. I wouldn't have placed ever. I would have I probably would have gotten discouraged and quit, and the whole course of my life would have been different. And that's the issue for me, that like,
Yeah.
it's just so
No, the
upsetting
sports
because-
issue, it's so sad. And it's like, you know, it's crazy because the same people pushing this, you know, this whole trans rights, which I don't like calling them rights. Like, they're not rights. You don't get to take away other people's safety and well-being and whatever. Like, that's not a right. But whatever, you know, they masqueraded as trans rights. The same people pushing that are the same people that just, you know, held the women's march for like 5 years straight. And now these people can't even define what a woman is and are just throwing women to the side for these mediocre men, to cater to the feelings of mediocre men and boys, you know, in schools, like in the sports aspect and everything. And it's just absolutely insane. And I don't know what wave of feminism that is, where you bend over and give everything.
Where you're too polite to say anything because you don't want to be like
these are
a
men,
cunt.
like,
yeah.
The same feminists are now like just opening the door for men to take everything away from actual women. It's so confusing to me.
Well, it's like the kids, the students, they're too young to really like, and they get intimidated into thinking like, oh, I'm gonna lose my scholarship. I'm gonna create too many problems with the authority figures in my life. I can't really speak out. I don't feel like I have the agency to say what I feel. And then you have the coaches and the woke parents and the administrators, like they want to look like allies and good people.
Right. And that's what it all comes down to. Like, they're literally hurting women and children, especially children, in the name of, you know, being nice and inclusive. And it's like, this is such garbage. It has the exact opposite effect. You know, I'm so sick of people feeling pressure. That, you know, that's why Gays Against Groomers, we're here to be like, look, you're not homophobic, you're not transphobic if you don't go along with this. Like, this is common sense. This is basic decency, basic biology. Like, we cannot continue down this path. We just can't. And, you know, I don't want people to continue being scared to speak out. And I'm so glad that more and more are speaking out. Like, I don't know if you just saw, Dr. Phil was just on Joe Rogan's podcast speaking about, you know, how evil this gender affirming care industry and practice is. And it's like, you know, this is really kind of starting to hit the mainstream now. And so thankfully, I think more people will start to speak out. And it's just like, just do it. You're going to be on the right side of history. Like, you don't want to look, when we decades from now, we're going to look back at this part in history in such deep shame. I truly believe that, like, appalled. Oh yeah, here we go. This is amazing.
God, yeah, this is there's
really
a 25-minute clip.
Yeah.
Dr. Phil informs Joe Rogan that reinstating Trump's remaining. Oh, this is
Here, if you go, actually, can you bring up the Gays Against Groomers Instagram on there? I posted a 2-minute clip on there because that's actually a really good clip. It's like less than 2 minutes.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, and then we'll get into this very interesting new study that just came out. Cancel. Okay, and your guys' handle, it's just Gays Against Groomers on Instagram.
Yeah, the full name on Instagram.
Why can I not search on here?
It's all good if not, but it's a good tip for you.
Moment. How come there's nowhere I can type for some reason?
If you just type into like the browser, Instagram.com/Gays Against Groomers, it'll pop up.
Okay, I'm just gonna do that.
All right.
Having a boomer moment. Here we go. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed to say I was not following you guys on Instagram.
Don't worry. It's okay. I'm more of an X user myself these days, but we are everywhere. You know, we have to be until we get banned.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, go down right
here. Here we go.
Gender affirming care. You know, that's interesting that they call it that, but really what they're talking about is hormonal therapy or sex reassignment surgery on children. And in fairness, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Endocrine Society, or whatever the exact name of that is, all of the major medical associations have signed off on this, Joe. They've signed off on it. And I have never seen those organizations sign off on anything with less information as to whether or not it does long-term harm of anything in my life. And when I ask about that, when I bring that up, then they immediately label you as transphobic.
Mhm.
And I thought that the deal was first do no harm. And all of the European countries, Sweden, Norway, they've all stopped doing it because they say, we cannot say in good conscience that this does no harm, because it does harm. If you look at the long-term consequences, if someone changes their mind at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, they can't decide which pajamas they want to wear at night. And their reason for doing it is it stops this drive for suicide, that there's a suicide epidemic. It doesn't fix that. It doesn't fix all the comorbid issues that come along with feeling like they're in the wrong body. But yet they're pushing this, and we're going to do some shows that are already taped that are revealing what the real results of this are. And I think people are going to be shocked that these medical organizations have signed off on this. I think they've just given in to the pressure.
Yeah, and for the same reason they signed off on the jab. Money talks, and
I mean, I think there's for sure, money, 100%. I think there's a few motivators behind it, honestly, but I don't want to get it too conspiratorial. But
yes, let's get conspiratorial.
Well, the elites love to talk about population control. What better way to do that?
Of course, they're coming at us from all angles. Food.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Child sterilization, the jabs, all of it. It's all working towards it.
That's my little tinfoil hat. No, but I mean, I really don't think it's much of a conspiracy. They openly say it. So you can't really keep producing humans if all the kids are sterilized. So,
which leads perfectly into this study.
I know, wasn't that a great segue, actually?
Just came out yesterday. What'd you say?
Wasn't that a great segue? What Dr. Phil said? I wasn't planning that, actually.
We are real professionals here on this channel. This just came out yesterday. Core claim an LGBT narrative around gender affirming care busted in new Finnish study. And just like Dr. Phil was saying, these Scandinavian countries are coming around on this a lot, because guess what? They were among the first to start doing all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And they've been doing it long enough to know that it is not helping. So a new study has concluded sex change surgeries do not have an impact on suicide risk. Activists and profit-incentivized health professionals have long told parents with supposedly gender dysphoric children that they have a choice, and we've heard this so many times from these activists, that would you rather have a dead son or a live daughter, or between a living son and a dead daughter, as if those are a parent. They will literally hold a parent hostage, saying these are your only two options.
It is. I mean, that is the most grotesque emotional blackmail. Like, I mean, people actually do that. Like, we hear that, but like so many families have actually been confronted with that by their doctors and, family doctors and gender doctors and therapists. And it's all a lie. And we all knew this. And, obviously now, of course, the data is actually starting to come out.
Yeah, it's catching up with most people's common sense. So in other words, many parents have presented with the choice of either subjugating their mentally compromised child to irreversible and sterilizing sex change medical interventions, or running the risk of their child ending their life. In a new peer-reviewed study, the esteemed quarterly journal BMJ Mental Health has put a nail in the coffin of this deceitful proposition. Finnish researchers wanted to figure out whether adolescents or young adults with clinically significant gender dysphoria were less likely to end their lives if provided so-called gender affirming care. After analyzing all-cause and suicide rates among a study population of 2,083 of gender-referred adolescents and 16,643 of matched controls, the researchers concluded that medical gender reassignment does not have an impact on suicide risk. All cause and suicide mortalities did not differ between those gender referred who had and had not proceeded to these sex change surgeries when psychiatric treatment history was accounted for, wrote the researchers. The researchers noted in their study that gender dysphoria, the mistaken sense that a person's so-called gender identity does not align with the person's sex, is often accompanied by a desire to obtain hormonal and surgical treatment. And again, if nobody made money off any of this stuff, it would not be as popular as it is. And if it weren't part of this depopulation agenda. I also don't think it would be as popular. The number of youths referred to clinics in hopes of satisfying the desire has skyrocketed along with gender dysphoria diagnosis. I think it's up like hundreds of %.
Oh no, it's like thousands. I think it's up. I know that from like 20. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get the dates wrong, the years wrong. I feel like it was from 2007 to I don't know. Within like 10 years, it jumped. The number of trans or non-binary identifying youth has like shot up by like 4,000%. And that's just insane. You know, and they try and say it's not a social contagion. And just because society is becoming more accepting, and that's absolute bullshit. Like, sorry, can I swear on here?
Swear away. They said there were 55 deaths in the study population, including 20 suicides. In the bivariate analyses, all-cause mortality did not statistically significantly differ between the gender-referred individuals and the controls. However, the proportion of suicides was higher in the gender-referred group. The study highlighted that psychiatric treatment was more common and frequent amongst the gender-referred cohort. Nearly 40% of the students in the group ultimately underwent sex change surgeries. Wow. Despite the apparent deltas between death rates on first inspection, multivariate analyses revealed the all-cause mortality of gender-referred individuals did not differ from that of the controls. So no significant benefit. So this whole argument goes out the window.
Mm-hmm. And they knew this. Like, they knew this. Everything they say they know is not true. It's just a way to manipulate, you know, parents into going along with this against what they know is not right. They have to know, you know, but like when you're confronted, like you do this or your kid is going to kill themselves. Like,
it scares you. They're holding you hostage. And here's another kind of similar article that came out earlier this month. WHO quietly admits there's no solid backing for giving children gender-affirming care. This came out February 3rd.
Yeah, we're just going to continue to see more and more of this. You know, and there was another article that I just saw recently that said like a bunch of gender clinics are having to shut down, or they're not able to provide, you know, services to youth anymore because the insurance malpractice premiums are shooting up so high, you know, and the only thing these people understand is money. So that's, you know, between that and getting all these laws passed, that's what it's going to take. So it's just,
wow. And then Biden signed an executive order in June of 22 directing the Department of Health and Human Services to take steps to address the barriers and exclusionary policies. So he is very much working against this. And like we mentioned before, healthcare authorities in the United Kingdom, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and France, among others, have recommended greater caution in providing these sex changes. So they're already getting off the bandwagon.
Yeah, they're going to start backtracking and be like, you know, kind of like how with a lot of people are now with COVID, like the jab and the lockdowns and stuff. They're like, what is the word they use? Like a COVID, not immunity, like where they want to kind of just wipe the slate clean, like none of that ever happened. They didn't really they want
they want they don't want to have to apologize.
Yeah,
like, oh, it was crazy times.
Yeah, like, you know, let's move past that. No, like all these people are going to start doing this, you know, and they're going to pretend that they were always against it and on the side of protecting children from chopping their healthy body parts off. But no, we won't forget who pushed this, because, you know, they need to be remembered. And honestly, if, you know, I don't know, they need to have much worse done to them. I think, you know, anybody that is in favor of this, any adult, doctor, whatever, activist that wants this to happen to children, I think they should have it done to themselves, the exact same procedure, and then be tossed in prison.
Yeah. What amount of kickbacks, what amount of money makes this worth it to you to actually go through with recommending this to a child and literally taking advantage of parents who just don't want to lose their child? It's
for sure. Like, remember, I watched the whole opioid epidemic, like when oxycodone first came out and stuff, or Oxycontin. I watched this show on Hulu called Dope Sick. I don't know if you saw it, but it was basically
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's actually so good. But they show like the farmer reps that go out and sell it to doctors and incentivize them and stuff. And so I'm sure the same kind of stuff is going on here with these puberty blockers and because when you get them, the thing about trans medication or medicine, whatever drugs, once you're on them, trans isn't really a noun, it's a verb, like transitioning. It's a process that doesn't end. So when you get kids hooked up on these drugs very young, they need them for the rest of their lives. And these surgeries,
there's no finish line that you cross and you're all better.
The puberty blockers and then the hormones are for life, literally for life. Like you stop and you go back to you never really transition in the first place, but all the characteristics kind of go back to your biological anatomy and sex. But and then with the surgeries, there's a million follow-ups and complications, and it's just very, it's scary, man. It's a scary.
It was very scary. Courtney Russ, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Jaimee. I appreciate your work. Thank you, Courtney.
Courtney.
Oh, Leo back again. Thank you for the super chat. Children are too young to make decisions that change their lives.
Well, that one I fully comprehend.
Thank you, Leo. George Habib, thank you for the super chat. Do you guys find that Gays Against Groomers increases the acceptance of gays among the right? Is there a concern you contribute to election wins for anti-LGBT absolutists?
No, we don't really care about that. We just care about stopping what's happening. I do notice that there is more actual homophobia out there now than any time in my life, honestly, even when being gay was more taboo, just because of this agenda, like because of the push on kids, and it's always in your face everywhere. And so, no, if anything, I think we're just kind of showing that we're trying to show that we're just normal people. Like, not all of us want this being done to kids. Not all of us want to push anything in your face or take away women's spaces. Like, we literally just want to live our lives, go grocery shopping, go to work, watch a good show on TV, go to bed. Like, that's it, And so I'm not trying to, with Gays Against Groomers, we're not trying to raise acceptance or anything. We're just kind of trying to, show reality of who the majority of us are and that we're not on board with this.
Do you listen to or watch a lot of videos or read comments from a lot of your haters? Because just in trying to prepare for this, I watched a few, and it's interesting. One of the chief complaints of Gays Against Groomers is that you guys give off the message to kids that they're not allowed to be gay. Have you heard that a lot?
No, but I think that's really funny. I personally don't think any child has a sexuality. When you start getting a crush on someone, in your teens or early teens, the hormones start flowing, which puberty blockers are there to block and make it's not happening. But
yeah, it's wouldn't it make you kind of asexual in a way?
Yeah. When you're at that age, you'll start to have feelings for either the same sex or the opposite sex. I don't think anything should be pushed on kids. I think that, like all of us growing up, we just figured out who we were naturally, and that's what it should be. There should be nothing pushed on anyone. I think that at the same time, we don't want kids to feel alienated or what's the word I'm looking for? Different or weird or excluded. But I think actually, there is more homophobia rising, and the group Gen Z and Gen Alpha, the rebellious group, they are going to turn against these kids because this is being pushed down their throats, and they're going to be against, I don't know. It's complicated, but no, I don't think that we ever said that, or that's what we're trying to do at all.
Yeah, because you could be middle school, high school, and have I remember I looked up to a lot of the gymnasts on the in high school, the high school girls that were because I think I was on the varsity team when I was 7th and 8th grade, and they were so I was on the team with these high school girls, and I looked up to them, and not that I had crushes on them, but I was I thought they were cool and were really good, and so it's like you just got to let all that stuff settle
Yeah.
out for a few years.
You will figure out who you are on your own, you know, and it really, it hurts my heart that these kids are that it's being pushed on kids. And it's you know, childhood and adolescence is already very confusing and awkward. And, you know, it's adding so much into just so much more confusion and into their tiny little heads that are still growing and trying to figure the world out and who they are. It's just sad. Like I shudder at the thought of having to grow up right now. Like it's very scary. And I feel really bad. It
seems like it's a lot more to undo and try to fix rather than just like letting your hormones figure themselves out and just like seeing your way through adolescence like we all have had to do.
Like every other human throughout all of existence. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to bring this up. You guys had an event at the Comic Strip Live. Was it this past summer? Because Mike Harlow was telling me about that.
Yeah, it was
what happened there? You guys, it just was like a meeting, and then you guys had a bunch of protesters show up.
It was the official launch of our New York chapter, our New York State chapter, and yeah, the protests were absolutely wild. I think there's footage.
I remember it. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. They were out there with all kinds of instruments and drums and bells and whistles, and you know, it was a little scary when they saw me. Like, I know that these people want my head on a platter, like they really are on a stake, really. So you know, it was my first time experiencing like protesters that close to me, but you know, it comes with the territory now. I mean, I've had many death threats, and it is what it is. It's sad. And this guy, oh yeah, check it out. Look at you, prepared. They were a hot mess. They were there all night too. At one point they were doing
transphobes.
At one point they were doing like a train, not like that sounds wrong. They were doing like, you know, like where you hold each other's shoulders and like walk together, like doing like a train dancing, chanting at us.
Wow, this is when things got spicy. Did they try to like attack you, or did anyone try so you got recognized basically?
I got recognized. There was a guy that made it inside the event. Actually, we should have known. He was the only one wearing a mask in there, and he was sitting right next to some of our members, like just in the audience, which is really sketch. But all of a sudden he starts playing, like this loud sound comes from like the corner where he's sitting. We're like, what the hell is that? And it's like, Gays Against Groomers is a Nazi organization. Gays Against Groomers is a Nazi organization. And so we saw who this dude was. All of a sudden he stands up, like, who knows? He could have been strapped. Like, it could have been way worse than what actually happened, which was just him getting immediately escorted out. But it was, you know, these TRAs, these trans rights activists are actually crazy. And the ones that are on hormones, like I say this all the time, cross-sex hormones plus like a woke ideology is actually incredibly violent and toxic and scary. Like it leads to serious violence. You see what's happening now, like with these mass shooters that are hopped up on cross-sex hormones.
Yeah, it just seems like a dangerous combination, and like,
yeah, for sure.
Wow, this is it's so insane, but like Jaimee, what you guys are doing is so important, and I can't imagine like I'll get death threats for like a fried chicken joke. I can't imagine like what your inbox must look like, and it's probably way more intense.
You know what? I take it as a badge of honor. I personally, I'm kind of a sick person. It actually fuels me. Like I get a kick out of it. I like it. Keeps me going. But you know, I would think like if I weren't getting these threats, and if we weren't getting kicked off all these platforms and have all these, you know, hit pieces written about us, I would think we were doing a pretty shit job at what we're here to do. So, you know, we're doing a good job. And you know, it's funny. I just want to end it with this saying, I was actually interviewed for Timcast News or whatever for an article at one point. And he said, where do you see Gays Against Groomers in 5 years from now? And I was like, I pray to God we don't have to exist. I don't want to.
Good answer.
It's true though. You know, we just want to get the job done and get out. So, and live our lives. Like when we got the right to marry, I could have never in a million years guessed that this was going to be my future a few years down the road. This is a fight that I'm going to have. You know, it's just like, I don't want to be having to do this, but we do have to do it. And we're going to do it until it ends. So.
And where can people find you and follow you other than gaysagainstgroomers.com? Of course, you can donate. Yeah. You can look into joining a local chapter.
Yes, you can. So definitely, we're always looking for more people to join it. I was going to say donate and join. I meant join. No, if you're LGB or T, and you want to be part of the fight, please go to gaysagainstgroomers.com/join. You can follow me personally on Instagram at The Gay Who Strayed, on Twitter, The Gay Who Strayed without an E at the end. And yeah, if you go to gaysagainstgroomers.com, you can find all of our socials there. And as you can see on the page right now, if you're watching this, but yeah, just stay up with what we're doing. And help us if you can, because, you know, we are completely independent. It's actually also amazing what we've been able to do being completely independent. We don't have a single zero big donor. There's a lot of conspiracies out there that the Heritage Foundation has given us $1 million. But as you can see by my fancy studio, we're still waiting for that.
It doesn't look like $1 million studio, Jaimee. I don't know. Where's the money going?
Crazy, right? You should see the table this is on. I have my laptop sitting on top of an old coffee
Just
maker.
Sitting on a piece of gold, a solid piece of gold, is what I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming on. What a pleasure to talk to you, Jaimee. I'm just such a big fan and I really respect everything you guys are doing. We'll definitely stay in touch, and everyone follow Jaimee on all of the things.
This was really fun, and thank you so much for having me on. I love these kinds of like just laid back, you know, kind of just have a real conversation. So
yeah, thank you to everybody in the chat for your comments and your good questions. And
yes, I'm trying to read them. You know, I didn't have them switched over early enough. I'll check them out later, but
they're all good.
Yeah, thank you for the support.
Everyone's very well behaved today. All right, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.